Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, and a warm Mancunian welcome to all my incredible listeners out there. I'm Deepa Thomas Sutcliffe, your friendly host. You've just tuned in to the 6th season of the Meet the Mancunian podcast. This podcast is a celebration of the unsung heroes, the change makers, and the passionate souls who are making a real difference in our vibrant city. From social enterprises to non-profits and community groups, I bring you the voices of worker bees and volunteers, all coming together for a common cause. Through heartfelt conversations, my guests share their experiences, dreams, and unwavering commitment to making a difference. From the challenges they've overcome to the triumphs that fuel their passion, their stories will leave you moved, enlightened, and brimming with hope. Join me on this audio adventure as my guests and I explore the transformative power of collective action and the remarkable impact we can create when we unite for a common cause. Their tales are a testament to the power of community, collaboration, and the indomitable Mancunian spirit. They not only address pressing issues right here in Manchester, but also offer insights and inspiration that resonate far beyond these boundaries. So, whether you're commuting, on a run, or just relaxing at home, I invite you to tune in on Apple, Spotify, Google, or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also log on to my website, www.meetthemancunian.co.uk. Let's embark on this journey of discovery and inspiration. For my new listeners, you can catch up on the incredible stories from the first 5 seasons at www.meetthemancunian.co.uk, where you'll also find out more about my own journey as a podcaster. And to all my returning listeners, I can't thank you enough for your support. You make this podcast possible, and I'm immensely grateful. So join me as I continue to share these inspiring tales of change and community support from the beating heart of Manchester. Together, we can spread a bit of good news, spark some meaningful conversations, and inspire positive action. Thank you for being a part of the Meet the Mancunian community. Welcome to the bonus episode of Season 6 of the Meet the Mancunian podcast, Social Impact Stories from Manchester. Loving the attractive Meet the Mancunian podcast creatives? We hear from Mahua Roy, artist and dear friend. Hi Mahua, how are you doing today?
Hi Deepa, I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm all right. It's been nice. It's a long weekend here, so enjoying the time and kind of spending a lot of time in immersion of around the podcast, getting ready for season 6.
Oh, that's nice.
So you've been immersing yourself with a lot of art studies recently, and tell us about that. What are you currently focused on?
We've been moving gradually from one art form to another, as in one media to another. So I'm working with a lot of charcoals and soft pastels right now, and it's been a very interesting journey so far. In fact, we students are going to have an exhibition next weekend. and looking forward to it. So we were sorting out the best work, and I was just going through my old work. We all realized we've come a long way, really, because when we see our old work and then 6 months down the line, so much has changed, and there's so much of finesse now in our work.
This sounds really good. So tell me more about this art exhibition. What will you be exhibiting there?
I will be exhibiting a lot of my sketches, the initial line work, all kinds of practices that we had to do, and also how we gradually moved from line work to using charcoal, and then now pastels, and then we'll be moving on to watercolors. What we are doing is we are putting up our entire journey for the viewers to see how the journey has been this far. It's not just my journey, but I also get to see other artists who've been taking this course, their journey, and it's been very interesting to learn from their journey as well. So we are basically learning from each other and not just from our teacher. We're learning from each other's journeys as well. It's been very enriching, Deepa.
It's so amazing to kind of have this immersion into art that you're doing because for me, from a podcasting perspective, I learn a lot from webinars, podcasting clubs, and community forums, sharing ideas and sharing new software that we've discovered to make our lives easier.
I basically wanted to know, now that you have a job, how are you juggling between your job, taking care of your house, your little boys, and your passion project? How are you doing everything, Deepa?
I'm trying to be organized and I'm trying to work a lot in advance. I start recording very early. So I start recording maybe 2 or 3 months in advance so that I have the time to research my guests, talk to my guests, and then edit and do other things around it. It is hard, but I think because it's a passion project, you find the time. And I think it makes me more creative. And you know that recently there have been some really good rankings where the podcast got noticed as best UK social work podcast as well as best social impact podcast globally, number 19 in that list. So just really nice to see that people are noticing. And of course, thanks to your creatives as well as our wonderful guests. Have you listened to any of the recent podcast episodes of Meet the Mancunian or other podcasts that really resonated with you?
In fact, I think your last podcast, you spoke to Hannah Cox, and she was talking about Better Business Network. And she's made some very interesting points. Like, she spoke about how social entrepreneurship doesn't a non-profit venture. It can be for profit and still make a social impact. I think that was very interesting because it's like a total shift from what we perceive an NGO should be like.
Absolutely. And I think within that for profit, obviously having community initiatives or the environment that they're supporting is also really important.
Other than that, I think, Deepa, there is one old episode, it'll never go away from my mind, the poet Anthony Parker, which actually made me write a poem. He spoke about how all of us are the same. We have the same trials and tribulations. And that is something that stayed with me, Deepa. I really love it. I'll always think about his poem and what he said. It helps you deal with people very differently, whether it's people in Manchester or people in Bombay. In the end, we have similar trials and tribulations, and that's the beauty of it. I have listened like a couple of times.
Anthony's poem on Manchester was very powerful, which he had included within it as well. So this time's Meet the Mancunian, you've taken an inspiration from the British weather and the autumn season that we start next month. Tell us about that.
Like you said, the inspiration was definitely the weather. Only the British weather is not just about the gloom and the rains, it's also about different seasons, which fascinates me because we don't really get that in Bombay, maybe other parts of India, but not in Bombay. So I think that fascinates me, and that's why I try to talk about different seasons. You have different seasons in your podcast. So try to portray that in the podcast.
As always, it's really interesting and very attractive. So thank you so much for everything that you do for the creative. It wouldn't be Meet the Mancunian without your beautiful creatives, and especially the fact that you always have the worker bee in it, which is really lovely as well.
I enjoy it thoroughly. That is what Mancunians are all about. So I had to portray that. That is what makes the podcast creative alive, basically. It was important.
Now, Mahua, it's been almost 2 years since we've been collaborating on the Meet the Mancunian podcast creatives, and you've been part of the journey right from, I think, November 2021 when we first started talking about it. So, have your perspectives on either podcasting or on Manchester changed during these 2 years? Is a long time, and you were talking about your art, how you've gone through that journey.
I don't think anything else can take over podcasting. You know what I mean? That can't be replaced, Deepa. And that's the beauty of a podcast, you know. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, as you know, while traveling, when I go for a walk. When I paint, I listen to podcasts. This is one thing which will never go, and that's the beauty of it. But podcast is something which will never change, if you come to think of it. Because a human to human connection is something which can't be replaced, like I said. So that's my take on podcast. Manchester, oh, I wish I could visit anytime soon. Hoping I do, because I've really known so much about Manchester from this podcast, people of Manchester. And since I'm a history student, I would love to visit and see where the actual industrial revolution started. Manchester's getting interesting for me day by day. As I listen to your podcast, I'm like, I have to visit Manchester. So that keeps me going. The thought that yes, one day I am going to visit Manchester.
It'll be lovely to have you and definitely take you around some of the historical landmarks as well as a little bit of the cultural side as well. And I think podcasting, like you said, yeah, it's become quite powerful now because I was reading a statistic recently that 25% of all UK adults are listening to podcasts regularly, and 50% have listened at least once. So it's become a very powerful medium. And I think the reason for it is because you can do other things when you're listening to your podcast, like you said, going for a walk or painting or cooking or anything else you feel like you could be doing that listening to the podcast. And I think that's probably why the medium is becoming so popular, as well as the creativity, the fact that so many genres. So looking forward to season 6. Thank you so much again for your amazing creativity.
Thanks, Deepa, for giving me this opportunity, because it's been such an interesting journey working together on the creatives, discussing the podcast with you. It's really been very interesting and fun.
I love it because you have so many great ideas beyond the creatives. So I really enjoy that. And you're very much part of it's a very small Meet the Mancunian team. Right now, just 2 people, but hoping to build a community.
Yes, for sure. I'm sure that'll happen soon.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Mahua, thank you for talking to me about art and podcasting today. Dear listener, thank you so much for listening to the bonus episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast season 6. Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode or log on to www.meetthemancunian.co.uk to listen to all the episodes and learn more about my podcasting story. Next week, on Tuesday, 5th September 2023, I speak to Andy Schofield about supporting mental health and veterans. Thank you for joining me on this enriching journey through the social impact stories of Manchester with the 6th season of the Meet the Mancunian podcast. I hope the stories you've heard today have sparked a fire of inspiration within you, and they serve as a gentle reminder that no dream is too big and no passion is too small. Your feedback means the world to me. Visit www meetthemancunian.co.uk to share your thoughts, suggestions, and the causes that touch your heart. Your input helps me craft a podcast that truly touches hearts and makes a difference in our community. Stay connected with the podcast on social media. You can find us at @Meet the Mancunian on Instagram and Facebook, or follow us on Twitter at @MancunianPod. Sharing and leaving a comment would be a fantastic way to spread the word and build a vibrant community of change makers. Before I sign off, remember to introduce this podcast to your friends and family. Together we can amplify the impact and reach of these incredible stories. Once again, thank you so much for being a part of the Meet the Mancunian family. Your support fuels my passion, and I can't wait to bring you more compelling stories that will touch your hearts and fuel your soul. Until we meet again in the next episode, let's keep creating waves of change together. The world needs more Mancunian spirit, so go out there and be the change you wish to see. Take care, stay inspired.